So just so you know, just so you have context, whatever it is that you're going through, when we are talking about, are you okay, and you want to have that conversation, or you've got that shit on your chest that you just need to get off, just know that nearly every single one of you here right now has been through something in the last 6 months. So it's not just you, and that's the issue.
Who I am and what I'm doing at the mines. A real meta answer, besides my name being Lachie Samuel, is I'm an ex-FIFO worker who struggled a hell of a lot, who had a partner who struggled, who lost friends to suicide, and I've been given a really good opportunity to come back as a new version of me who's learnt a lot, turned pain into purpose, and now essentially that's what I do, is come here and be vulnerable enough that I hopefully compel people to step up and find the courage to be vulnerable too. If it means just having one-on-one conversation with me after the workshop or the seminar, whatever it is that I facilitate, then that's the end goal for me personally. But I guess the end goal for the industry is to no longer need people like me.
Let's talk about the next 3 days.
Next 3 days here at DeGreys with Topdrill. What we're going to be doing is workshops, and the workshops that we're going to be delivering back to back to back over the next 3 days. Over the next 3 days is Pillar 1, which is essentially lived experience, like we spoke about, and then emotional set points, achievement versus fulfillment, and then going over feel, think, act. So, because we need to attain that target or achieve, having people understand just how impactful their feelings are, how that determines to a large extent what they think, and then how their thoughts in conjunction with their feelings determine to a large extent how they show up and how they behave, and how that over time can become unconscious patterns and loops that people fall into and get stuck in. And then diving into the emotion just a tiny bit, which then leads to organically having these conversations with people one-on-one who I feel need it or who want to stick around and get something off their chest. Just leads into going a little bit deeper into that emotion so that we can peel that layer back, so that maybe we can reframe for a lot of people what is sadness underneath anger and frustration, reframe sadness into hope, joy, relief. So back-to-back sessions, and then on September 9, Are You OK Day? On Thursday we've got a breakfast where both of us will wake up super duper early. And then it'll just be a talk about the importance of not just asking, are you okay, but reaching out for help and being willing to receive support.
Can you tell me your name first and what's your role here?
My name is Nasser. I'm one of the fieldy in DeGrey. I think it was fantastic. You know, the presentation was amazing. You know, we really loved it. You know, we learned a lot today.
So that's why I'm here. That's why FIFO happiness exists. That's why I love doing what I do. That's why when I talk about the preemptive and getting out and being in front of people, that's why, it's because I believe very deeply and passionately that we don't have to suffer as an industry. FIFO bros and sisters don't have to suffer. We don't have to go to the point where we feel like it's necessary to do something like take our own life, to do something like hurt someone else. All it takes is seeing someone like me and then maybe having a conversation afterwards, maybe allowing that to filter through, and then hopefully you start having more deeper, more meaningful conversations where people can peel back those layers, peel back that mask of being rough and tumble, of being stoic in the mining industry, and have conversations where you actually get to be yourself for a change. Because when you do allow yourself to be yourself, that's when life starts to change. aware of the mental strain before I started? No, I don't think anyone is. For me personally, I guess the biggest strain was going into FIFO as someone who, although I was in a relationship, because I was a cheating narcissist, I just showed up as someone who was single anyway. So I lived a very single-esque lifestyle and didn't really have too much care in the world. And so when I did then get a partner who was in Kalgoorlie with me, and driving in and out, flying in and out, leaving her and being away from her, that's when the issues started coming up, and didn't realise it back then, but reflecting, looking back at that, a lot of the issues come from just not being able to communicate well, not being able to identify my wants and needs, not being able to empathise and give compassion to my partner who just missed me a lot, and then within that just being stubborn and stuck up and not really wanting to budge on how I felt or acknowledge how I felt. So a lot of the issues come from not being able to communicate effectively in that relationship, and for a lot of people that's where the stress, the suffering, the overwhelm, the anxiety comes from, is that lack of communication, the lack of the ability to have the hard conversation. I think there hasn't been, no, scratch that, not I think, there hasn't been anything like this. It's a really beautiful mix of what Happiness Co were doing and then what I was doing with Open Up on Minds. Essentially, what I was doing was going out, doing these presentations, mental health de-escalation, a little bit of my story, and then going back to camp and doing men's circles, and having brothers come into, got given one room at each camp I went to, and they'd send out a text blast and be like, everyone, Lachie's going to be in this room at this time for this long. If you want to go chat, go see him. And then we'd end up having a bunch of brothers just coming in and sharing what they were going through. Later, bro.
To be honest, just the takeaway was just self-awareness for mental health. Before I actually came here, I didn't even know it was exist, you know what I mean? But then when I came and realized how serious it is, and the things that he take us through, it was really real, and it's some of the issues that we need to focus on for future reference.
I think it would have been nice to know or see just how poorly I was showing up, to understand the impact of steroids on me and my body image, to understand that messaging other girls are cheating, how much impact that had on my partner, ultimately how much hurt I was causing. I remember being on site and being super aggressive when people told me I was wrong or challenged me, and then asking people to fight. And I remember asking my older brother to fight, and that was a real low for me just before I got forced out of my 4-in-1 gig at Sino.
We've been working up here with DeGReys for probably the last 4 years. It's a difficult place to work, I understand that, especially in COVID times. Work with them 12 hours a day, so trying to elicit that response out of them. And if you hear something that's not right, say, mate, we can help out. At Topdrill, I know we have a services provider, BSS.
I've grown in the way that I show up when I talk about that deep-seated belief in myself. Before, there was always this sense of I'm going to speak and I'm going to speak really well, and I know I'll speak well, but because there was that feeling of not being enough, that undercurrent, I'd always show up powerfully, and then as soon as I was finished doing my thing, I would shut off and really close off and isolate myself, because I didn't feel worthy of number one, being seen, but number two, the recognition, appreciation that would come off the back of it. And so I guess for me, identifying that and seeing that and having the people around me be so supportive, really call me forward to step into what it's like to receive appreciation and what it's like to be worthy of being someone who is appreciated, who is worthy of being in a leadership role. That's probably the biggest takeaway.
Before we grab some breakfast.
So how are you feeling after all this?
Ooh, I'm feeling good. After the last couple of sessions, after the one-on-ones, visiting the guys at the rig, I really feel like I'm in a place where I have trust with people, and ultimately that's what I want to get to, is having a level of trust. So FIFO workers that are struggling, most companies have an EAP, it's an employee assistance program, and it'll be all the posters stuck up or on the back of the toilet doors, in the crib rooms, in the offices, whatever your EAP provider is. And I'd really encourage people to reach out to those people, because they're psychologists, they're people who are trained to sit and listen to these conversations. Yeah, they might not have worked FIFO, they might not understand the lifestyle, but if you speak to that person, if you call that person, you're going to have someone who is ready and willing and is trained to listen to you. Feel that they can approach me, and they can approach me with anything. And then this one today is just really cool to be given a chance to speak into RUOKDay.
So just so you know, just so you have context, whatever it is that you're going through, when we are talking about are you okay, and you want to have that conversation, or you've got that shit on your chest that you just need to get off, just know that nearly every single one of you here right now has been through something in the last 6 months. So it's not just you. And that's the issue, is that for a lot of us, we think it's just us, so we keep it to ourselves. Keep it to ourselves because we don't want to be judged. And I'm sure you've seen through my presentation and sharing so vulnerably, being so...
Yeah, I believe that it is something that we need to be focusing on more. Generations are changing, people are changing, expectations from the workplace are changing, and we can't keep going like we have in the past. We have to move with the times and make sure that we deal with those sorts of people and those sorts of issues that arise. We know mental health and suicide, as Fish said, it's huge. It's a big, big issue. These people are doing it pretty tough, and anything that we can do is just getting Lachie in to have a talk, and if that elicits a response and people talk about it, that's a good thing.
Speak about what I've been seeing, be honest with the guys around. I've had a bunch of one-on-one conversations. This is the depth of what's here, what the undercurrent is with the workforce, with the organism, with the collective, be it DeGReys, Topdrill, Wallace, whoever. A lot of that is really deep childhood trauma, so it was nice to just let them in on what's here, so that hopefully, in conjunction with my story and feeling like they have some level of trust with me, that sort of compels them to take action on a day like RUOKDay. So yeah, overall pretty bloody happy, man.